My name is Koizumi of Fujitsu Research Institute. I'm a chair of the Best Practice Board of XBRL International. Before starting my presentation, I just want to know how many people are in General Assembly? No? Okay, great. So because the reason why I ask you is I will do the same update at General Assembly. But nobody joined the General Assembly. That's okay. I'm doing the general update. Okay. First of all, I want to introduce what the Best Practice Board is doing. We are the body to collect and disseminate market practices, and also we are the body to create the best practices from the existing market practices. So we plan to deliver project listing database. I think the introduction of project listing database was at the next door from 8:30. And also we plan to deliver taxonomy requirement framework, which is requirement framework for implementing a taxonomy. And we creating the several white papers, including I will introduce later, and also a guidance document for taxonomy development and project management. Here is one of the outcome from year 2011. It is a project listing database. It's you can access this project listing database from XBRL International website. This has two different views. One is map view, the other one is list view. So far, we have more than 150 projects all over the world. It's really useful. And second one is second deliverables in 2011 is value proposition for use of XBRL. It is a marketing type of white paper. It represent the benefit of XBRL adoption for private companies and external auditors, investors and bank, regulator and governments, and also public companies. So it is 18 pages white papers in English, but it is not detail for the technology. It is only talked about the benefit of XBRL for each area. So it is not a technical document. Our target audience for this document is non-technical, the project management and the decision-making people. Okay. We are still working on the some of the activities for remaining of 2011. One is a database creating. Still, we are continuing to maintain the project listing database, and the other database is taxonomy requirement framework. This is new one, and the other one is white papers. We are now creating the white papers, the benefit to implement XBRL for internal reporting and how we consume XBRL data, and benefit for the XBRL and internal integrated reporting and SBR and banking area. That's a white paper development. We plan to provide these white papers by next international conference. And last one is a guidance document. We are working for two different guidance documents. One is for project manager. We call the project manager's checklist. So the characteristics of the XBRL project, most of the people have the same question: who provides the software for preparation, how we collect the data, and how we consume the data, and who will develop the taxonomy, how we develop the taxonomy, type of thing. So we're gonna gather these questions at in the same checklist, one checklist, and provide to the market. The other one is taxonomy architecture guidance document. This is one guidance, not a rule. It's a guidance document for taxonomy development. We are especially for taxonomy architecture. we just started the development of the taxonomy architecture guidance document, and some of the draft document can be published by next international conference. Okay. So lastly, I introduce the activities on of the Best Practices Board on the XBRL international website. You can see the xbrl.org/best practices. You can see the this tab. Once click this button, once click this tab, you can see this page. It is on all activities on of Best Practices Board. And you can see the white papers on the Best Practices Board tab. And you can see the all approved and acknowledged taxonomies, with clicking this taxonomies tab. And also you can see the project listing database from Knowledge Center. And once you click the project listing database, you can see the map view or list view, and find out the XBRL project in the world. That's an update from Best Practice Board. Thank you for participation.
Thank you. Do we want to do questions? Or any questions or comments for the speaker, for Koizumi-san?
Yes.
So, great project website. Great. I don't speak for the SEC. I only speak for myself. Just a suggestion. Nice project listing database has really been very useful. You should consider a parallel database or a parallel map in which you locate websites or sources of company information that people can get to. In other words, where can they actually get data, from either regulators or other people? Let's start focusing on kind of consumption of the data.
Okay. Great suggestion. Thank you. Anything
Thank you.
else? Okay. Thank you.
So next will be Conor O'Kelly for the XBRL Standards Board. O'Kelly-san?
Thanks, Howard. This is a voyage of discovery because the laptop is not only new, but it's actually brand new, straight out of the plastic.
It's from HP,
So, yeah. So I'm coming through Chicago O'Hare Airport, and they're asking me these security questions. Did you pack the bag yourself? Yes. Has anyone touched the bag? No. Do you know the contents of the bag? Yes. Are there any electronic devices in there? Yes. There's a laptop. And there we go. How long have you had the laptop? 1 day. Do you know where the laptop came from? No. Do you know who sent it to you? No. Have you touched the laptop? Well, yes. Has anybody else touched the laptop since you put it into the bag? Yes. Let's have the laptop. So. Oh, hang on. I know what it is.
Duplicate.
It is duplicate, yeah. There we go. Okay.
What is the password?
Password is set to expire. This password is set to expire in about 24 hours. Yeah. So I keep on getting these security messages. So we got through American Airlines, we got through the plastic wrapper, and we've managed to boot up the laptop. How exciting is this? So, thanks very much, and welcome everybody. It's not going to work for me, is it? Let me do it this way. So it's a synopsis of the update that we gave to the XBRL International Board of Directors at the Directors meeting on Monday, and subsequently gave to the XBRL International Member Assembly. So you're seeing the same material. And if you sat in on any of those sessions, my apologies, you're going to see it again. And if not, you're very welcome to sit in now. So there were a couple of threads, I guess, running through the Standards Board. I'm going to give you an update on the specifications, the public working drafts, and some of the recommendations that we've released here in Montreal. And then I'm going to give you an update on where we are on our strategy, our Preserve, Promote, Participate strategic initiatives. And so on the XBRL International Board meeting on Monday, we passed two specs in particular into recommended status. One was the inline XBRL Transformation Registry 2.0 that was passed by the board to recommended status. And on the formula spec, there were a variety of specs, some of them covering the aspect cover filters, the concept relation filters, generic messages, validation messages, generic labels, and a series of function and test PRs and PERs, and they were all approved to recommended status, and I believe updated on our website since then.
Not yet.
Not
we,
yet.
we still don't have FTP access to our new web host.
Okay.
I'm on strike. I'm not going to do one file at a time.
Okay, so we're going to pin Angie down outside here, and we're going to get that up in the next short while.
No. It's the web host refuses
the
to
web
provide
host.
FTP access.
Oh, I see.
They
Okay.
want one file per message, of which we have maybe 1,000
We've
little
got
files.
dozens of Okay. So over the next period of time, we're going to get them up on the website for you. We put a lot of energy on the Standards Board into formula rendering and versioning, and we've released 3 sets of public working drafts in formula versioning and rendering. They're all down there. I'm not going to read down through them all, but I mean, they were basically the multi-instance and chaining specifications, an update to CR4, incorporating agreements made during some of the working group discussions and feedback on the earlier CRs, the variable specification, the match filter specification, formula overview, a first public working draft, and updated conformance suites. On versioning, the instance aspect specification, a second public working draft has gone out, including the versioning primer working group note, versioning overview working group note, and the versioning conformance suite, including overview documentation, a first public working draft on that. In rendering, we put most of our energy into the table link-based overview. That's now gone out in first public working draft, along with the table link-based specification, the selection access specs, and various other aspect rules, access specifications, etc. There are a few samples in the conformance suites, and initial documentation. These are, well, okay, so they're designed, I'm reading it here, they're designed to give the public an early view on how conformance might look. So those 3 public working drafts, I believe, are up there at the minute, Hermity, or should be on the website. Okay. What we also tried to, I guess, map out and communicate is, and we got a lot of questions around, you know, how and these came from the board members and some of the member assembly members, how these working drafts might progress through to recommended status. And so I tried to map out here the progression path from the public working drafts. You see there the versioning spec, you'll see the formula overview, and you'll see the table link base, how they might progress over the next period of time. It has been somewhat, I'm going to say subjective is not the word, somewhat tricky, I guess, to try and predict how these specifications might develop. They are contingent or dependent on, their progression rather, is dependent on the amount of feedback we get to the public working drafts, whether we have to do 1, 2 or 3 public working drafts. It's contingent and dependent on the number of applications that the CRs are put to, etc. So there are a number of dependencies in there. the map there probably naively assumes that those 3 public working drafts are going to progress at the same pace. Our experience clearly is that they don't. But nonetheless, you know, illustratively, we would expect the working drafts to reach CR in or around Abu Dhabi next year, and all other things being equal, subject to those dependencies that I just spoke about, that they will come to REC status probably within about 12 months or so. Okay, we're going to try and get a little bit better on updating you guys on how we see the standards progressing, and so it's a first attempt, I guess, to get a roadmap out there with all the dependencies and with all the you know, the dependencies, I guess that are in there. So we'll keep this up to date. Haven't decided how often yet. It may be an annual roadmap, maybe a biannual roadmap. Certainly, probably won't be more than that. But just to give you an indication of how those 3 specs are progressing and how we see them progressing. You'll see there as well the formula message that we just spoke about, gone from PR to REC at this stage, and we had some small errata corrections. You see them there, 3 from the bottom. Some small errata corrections to the inline XBRL 1.0 spec there. It was already in REC status, of course, so they were just errata corrections. And then down the bottom there, you'll see the rendering transformation registry 2.0 gone from PR to REC, which was approved at the board meeting on Monday as well. Okay, so you know, some limitations to the roadmap. It assumes, of course, that the PWDs will progress at the same pace. We know that's not the case, but it's nonetheless an attempt, I guess, to share with you the work we're doing at the Standards Board and how we see these things progressing out. So, late in 2009, we formulated at the XBRL International ISC, we formulated our strategic plan. And the element of the strategic plan relevant to the standard and the specification was encapsulated in the Preserve, Promote, Participate document. And I wanted to share with you where we are with that at the moment. So we started off our journey in October 2009, identifying the goals through October 2009 and into February 2010. We undertook a very significant degree of market feedback and feedback from the members between March 2010 and May 2010, including face-to-face meetings in Brussels, etc. And we defined a framework for 6 initiatives that would drive that strategic document. We further analysed and identified, actually hang on, we got some colour coding here, don't we? There we go. In fact, this was Ray's deck, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. So credit to Ray for putting it together. We subsequently went down and identified the 6 initiatives between August 2010 and October 2010. And we released the Preserve, Promote, Participate document on the 6th of October 2010. The 6 initiatives that document foresaw or called for were the creation of an abstract model, the production of training materials, the definition of standard API signatures, a reorganization of the existing specification, and this is where I do a disclaimer. It's a kind of an SEC style disclaimer. The reorg of the spec really was brought about by a recognition, I guess, that our housekeeping had evolved and matured over a period of time as we were writing up the specs, and the best practice in how you write up and present a spec indeed had changed over time. And so historically how we've put the specs together have been in a variety of formats, some of it PDF, some of it Microsoft Word, some of it HTML, some of it kind of carved into stone and written on tablets, some of it on Herm's hard drive, some of it on my flash stick, some of it on various wikis, SharePoint, etc., etc. And so this is really a housekeeping exercise to get all of our spec collateral together, put it into the spec-to-spec format, in a manner that's kind of consistent and easy to read. It does not involve changing the spec, changing the syntax nor the semantics of the spec, right? So when you see reorg of the spec, it really is a housekeeping exercise more than a rewrite of the spec, okay? But nonetheless, we looked at a reorg of the spec in such a manner that it's easy to find, easy to read, easy to consume, presented in a standard spec for spec format, and is easy to consume, etc. We also looked at enhancing data comparability. We launched our comparability task force. And the P document, as it became known, also called for the development of application profiles. And so the two initiatives that are underway at the moment are the abstract model. We released our abstract model in Brussels in internal working draft, and we did commit to you that we would bring it to Montreal as a public working draft, and under Ray's very fine and diligent stewardship, and indeed the abstract model task force, some of the members of whom are sitting here with us today, we did deliver that model yesterday in public working draft. So it's out there now, and clearly we value your review and your input of that. I might say as well that the tenure and the charter of the abstract model task force initially was to deliver the model as a public working draft, and at that stage the strategic document foresaw or called that the chair would rotate, and Ray, I think, alluded to this yesterday at the luncheon. You know, rotation in leadership is good. It's healthy. We don't like to leave them too long in the one place. We like to take Ray's good contributions and spread them around. And so the chair is rotating at the moment, and we've put out a call for nominations for the abstract model chair. So again, I said this at the luncheon yesterday, but I'll say it again. A word of thanks to Ray and the Abstract Model Task Force, the extended team, for bringing that model to its public working draft status. So thank you. That in its own right drives some of the other deliverables. And we got a lot of questioning around, okay, so why haven't we started off the training material? Why haven't we started off the API signatures? The data comparability, Greg Soulsby has started to chair a couple of months back. That is progressing very well. The application profiles, a little bit somewhat contingent on the model as well. So what we're going to do now is take that model, which we've published, and that will allow us to start driving down and start off some of these other initiatives. And so the discussions at XSB this week, apart from patting Ray on the back, were to explore, you know, how do we start to progress these other initiatives, particularly the reorg of the spec, and the standard API signatures. We also spoke about some of the training material and how we might go about delivering the training material, cognizant of the fact that the XSB certification board are already working on certification, and how we might collaborate and make sure we optimise that deliverable. And indeed, some of the comparability and some of the other initiatives also have overlap with what Koizumi-san is doing in best practices, so we're looking at that as well. So I think overall, you know, I think we're delivering well on the 3P document. I think we are delivering as we had intended to deliver. It fits in seamlessly, I guess, into the XBRL board plan and into the strategic objectives and the strategic plan that the International Steering Committee signed off on. And I neglected to mention, but the overall deliverables and the overall goals of that document clearly are to make XBRL easier for developers, improve comparability, and make XBRL data easier to consume. So I think we're going to see a call for participation in some of these programs coming out probably in the next 40 to 60 days, that type of time frame. And we look forward, I think, between now and end of the calendar year to start speccing out some of these initiatives and start understanding how we drive them forward. So I think we're in a pretty good place. We always say on the standards board that we don't have enough staff, we don't have enough resources. We would love to do more. The discussion we're also having at the standards board is to take the recently approved XBRL international bylaws and look at the staffing and look at the resourcing model that those bylaws afford us, and to increase our resourcing on the standards board in line with those bylaws to make sure we can deliver on the strategic objectives. So we anticipate that a call for nominations and a call for participation on the standards board equally will go out over the next couple of days or weeks. So I think all in all in a good place. I think the standards board are excited about kicking off some of these other programs now that we've got our model, our UML model. I think next 30, 60 days you're going to start seeing some movement on that, and we will keep you abreast of them as we go. So that's pretty much it from the standards board. Happy to take questions.
Do we have any questions?
Easy questions.
Easy questions. About laptops.
Very easy ones. The website is very difficult to find a document if you don't have the status of the document, okay? Because the specification document are ordered by status in the menu.
Yeah.
It would be possible to have access to the document by topic.
That's what. That was an observation I had as well. Gary, and Angela Rose at the moment is going through the old website, migrating all of the documents off the old website onto the new website. That's been the kind of the first layer of transition. Personally, just a personal opinion, I still think it's a little bit kind of clunky how it sits on the new website, and so I think there are ways to look at optimizing the presentation on that website, making the stuff easier to find. We've heard that comment and that feedback over the last couple of days, and I think it's quite valid. So yeah, we'll work on that for you.
Thank you very much, Conor.
Oh, thanks very much, everyone.